And he is, as you can see with the black, as the other picture on here with the black hair and all that, and the red eye, known as Izuru Kamakura. He is basically the ultimate. And keep in mind, I'm kind of keeping these recaps short, due to the fact that I want to keep this video short. Izuru Kamakura is the ultimate. He is he's basically good at, the best at everything. But because of this, he sees the world as highly boring. And due to that, he's kind of in the gray area of hope and despair. And he wasn't always like this. Izuru Kamakura is actually another student altogether from the reserve course. Now, the reserve course is basically those, Hope's Peak Academy needed more funds to fund this project, and a candidate for this project. So they created the reserve course students. Pretty much normal students who could pay to get the most, to go to the reserve course and be, regular students attending Hope's Peak. Then that's when it starts going down. This kid's name is Hajime Hinata. He's a very important character. You will get to know him. He gets to know a member of the 77th class, known as Chiaki Namine. But when he goes into the Izuru Kamakura project, he's stripped of all personality, all memories. He loses everything, just to become the ultimate. And then Junko Enoshima finds him, releases him, and gets him to at least consider the idea of despair. And that's when it really begins. On her way, she eventually meets this young boy known as Miturai. I don't remember his last name. Miturai is the ultimate animator. But in reality, I guess you could call his talent more brainwashing than animating. He essentially uses stuff to do some some manipulation of the mind. Junko realizes this and uses that to create something called the Despair video. A brainwashing video that will make people fall into despair. She uses it on another member of the 77th class. The class that Miturai technically belongs to. The reason I say technically is because there's another person taking his place, so that he can stay home and draw his anime. The despair, so that he can, draw his animations. Sorry, I have to catch my breath. The idea that Junko has is essentially, if I can get this guy to create a despair video for me, then he can use his refined talents of brainwashing to turn anyone into a mindless zombie that will do anything for despair. Keep in mind, Junko doesn't really feel anything at this point. She just loves despair. And she uses her rough draft of the despair video to turn this member of the 77th class, known as Sumiki, into this mindless despair machine. She is the ultimate nurse, but she's gone over to ultimate despair. Keep in mind, nobody else knows this. And she's just living a normal life among normal people, acting normal, but in reality, her mind's been screwed up. And that brings us to the next part of this. Well, to the next part of the despair arc. This part is what I like to call the creation of the remnants of despair. Junko winds up attacking almost everyone. What am I talking about? Oh, right. Junko winds up basically controlling the entire reserve course with that brainwashing video, and winds up making, like, and then to get okay, let me start over. In order to get Izuru to her on her side, she makes the very first killing game to show Izuru the unpredictability of despair. This killing game is basically a rough draft of what the actual killing game will be. That's why I like to call this one the mock killing game. This one takes place with the student council of Hope's Peak Academy. We don't really know what their ultimate talents were, because they only appeared in it for a little bit. But during it, it was so screwed up. I would play you a clip of it, but honestly, I don't want anyone to get screwed up by that. If you actually want to see it, look up first killing game despair arc clip. You'll find at least a clip of it. And believe me, it screwed me up. Eventually, with her control of the reserve course students, she also controlled, she just had them rise up against Hope's Peak. And part of that was actually them, seeing as they were completely and utterly mistreated by them. They considered the Ultimate's Royal Reserve Course scum. And honestly, that's not right. If you didn't know that, then you're dumb. So essentially, what happened then was they released she also managed to get the former Ultimate Maid, the teacher of this, the teacher of the 77th class, leading them into a trap, killing one of them, which I'm not even going to go back to that clip, because that clip made me freaking cry, but that was Chiaki Namine. If you don't remember her, she is the one who pretty much fell in love with Hajime Hinata. She's also the ultimate gamer. Video gamer. And we'll hear more about her later on. But eventually, she kills Chiaki Namine and takes control of the rest of the 77th class. By the end of the Despair arc, the entire Reserve Course student has been forced to commit suicide. Not really forced, but brainwashed into committing suicide. All the 77th class that survived became known as the Remnants of Despair. Now keep in mind, they are slightly, although it's the same people, they are different. They've succumbed to despair. They are the remnants of despair now. The 77th class event is then scattered and they're some of the most dangerous of the classes. Known for one of them being the ultimate Yakuza, another one being the ultimate swordswoman, even one being the ultimate, and one being the ultimate princess. Although that really doesn't fit as a talent, I prefer to call her the ultimate leader. With the ultimate leader, they started to put the world into a decline, forcing everyone forcing a lot of people to succumb to despair. And that's where the 78th class, the most recent class to have been enrolled into Hope's Peak, traps themselves inside Hope's Peak unknowingly with Junko. And unknowingly they're with the one person who started it all. And that's where we lead into Danganronpa 1! Yay, yay! Then, with a whole... Junko eventually makes her move. Makura... making her sister, Makura Ikasaba, the ultimate I forget if she's the ultimate mercenary or what, but she's really good with weapons. And she has her be disguised as Makura, as Junko and Enoshima. And then Junko effectively kills her at the beginning of this first ever killing game, with Monokuma as the essentially headmaster of the school. This killing game was known as the Killing School Life. Just to name these so we don't get confused on what killing game I'm talking about. With a whole bunch of crazy stuff happening by the end of it, there's only six people left. Now, these people will come into play later, so memorize these names. Makoto Naegi. Toko Fukawa. Tagami. I forget his first name. Asahina. Asahina? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I do love this series, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing a lot of the names correctly. And Kiyogiri. These people are, by the end of it, these people are the ultimate hope, Makoto Naegi. The ultimate detective, Kyoko Kiyogiri. The ultimate affluent prodigy, Tagami. The ultimate novel writer, also technically the ultimate serial killer, being that she has two personalities, Genocide Jack or Genocide Shu, whichever you prefer. The ultimate swimmer, the ultimate, as well as also, I forget this guy's name, but honestly, He's a real wimp. He's the ultimate fortune teller. I forget his name. Gosh dang it. Sorry. And now, well, and that's all of them. At the end of it, they go out into the real world, only to find out that they go out to the outside world, only to find out that they actually shut themselves in. They willingly shut themselves inside that school and boarded it up and all that stuff. This the killing school trip was also being recorded and broadcast live. And a lot of stuff happens till we get to Ultimate Despair. Till we get to Danganronpa, another episode, also known as the Despair Girls. This one follows a new protagonist, the story of Kamaru Naegi. You may remember that last name, Naegi, from being as she is Makoto Naegi's sister, which gives her the title of Sister of Hope. In this one, we follow a different group of people. The villains are a different group of people who you can see on the screen now. Being the ultimate grade schoolers, also known as the Warriors of Hope. And don't let that name fool you. These people have been touched by Junko. All but four of them, all but one believe in fighting for. Believe they're fighting for an adult-free paradise, where they're kids. These are all grade schoolers, keep in mind. And this is only a few years after the world's are gone to crap. And essentially these grade schoolers want to make a kids-only paradise. However, one of them does not agree. Isn't exactly against it, but wants something different, just to accomplish the goals of Big Sis Junko. That is the green-haired girl, Monica Toa. But enough about them for now. Kamaru Naegi escapes their clutches, and the clutches of their Monokuma robots, and meets up with this girl, who you may remember, Toko Fukawa, the ultimate novel writer, and also Genocide Jack, they're basically one and the same but different. They are one and the same but different people. That may be kind of hard to understand, but Toko has gotten more control over her ability to control her Genocide Shu side. I'm gonna call her Genocide Shu because that's what I remember from the first game. And she essentially turns that into a weapon against them. After fighting through a few of them, taking out Masaru, the red-haired kid, Jotaro, the masked kid, and pink-haired girl, and Nagisa, they finally find themselves facing off against Monica, where they find out that Monica is actually wants Kamaru to become the new Big Sis Junko. And this is also where she reveals their history with Junko. And that leads us into... And also along the way, they find out that, remember the group from the last game, the ones that survived? They all became members of the Future Foundation. What is the Future Foundation? Well, here's a brief synopsis on what they are. They are pretty much, after the world went to crap, they're a whole bunch of alumni from the Ultimate Academy, from Hope's Peak, the Ultimate Academy, where they use their ultimate talents and, well, fight against despair, fighting for a better future. Keep them in mind; they will be a key element to the rest of the game. To the rest of the series. But all of them have become a member of the Future Foundation. And that leads us into Danganronpa 2. Sorry about that. In this game, you find yourself on an island in another killing game. With Danganronpa 2, you find yourself on an island in a new killing game known as the Killing School Trip. The Killing School Trip is pretty much a sequel to the Killing School Life, except this one's not being broadcast all over the world. This one, it takes place with the 77th class. If you don't remember, they turned into the Remnants of Despair. But they don't know that they're the Remnants of Despair. After a whole bunch of crazy stuff happens, they find out about the Future Foundation. They don't know what that is, but they know about it. They think that they're the bad guys, since they know they're the ones who trapped them on this island. And that the traitor, there's a traitor by the way, is working for the Future Foundation. And I forgot to mention this part. I'm an idiot. So, Izuru Kamakura. If you remember him, good for you. If you don't remember, the Ultimate. He took two AIs into a virtual world. Put two AIs in there, one for hope and the other for despair. And now back to the rest of the story. These people, all of these people, after a whole bunch more crazy crap, they find themselves facing off with Junko once again, finding out that everything they've done has all been in a virtual world, known as on a place called Jabberwocky Island, and the virtual world, and everything they've done has been virtual. But then they find out that they were the Remnants of Despair. But once Junko died, they all fell into disarray. Some of them tried to attach parts of Junko's body to their own, thinking it'd make themselves one with Junko. And remember that virtual world that Izuru took those AIs in? The traitor was the AI working for the Future Foundation, known as, and that one was Chiaki Namine. Essentially, she turned it into, Izuru turned this whole thing into the final fight between hope and despair. And that leads us in, and once they get out, they're trying to revive the people that they had lost in the killing game. Only 6 of them had survived, but we won't go over them yet, because all of them will eventually come back. Now we go over to the future arc. The final part of this, as you can see, after the events of Jabberwocky Island, they go ahead and the Future Foundation brings Makoto Naegi up for questioning. By the way, Makoto Naegi in Danganronpa 2 was the one who put them all into the virtual world. All the remnants of despair into the virtual world. In Danganronpa 3 Future Arc, Makoto Naegi is being put on trial for harboring remnants of despair. And then they get captured and forced to play what I call the survival game, because it's not quite a killing game as it is a survival game. Where you just have to survive. Makoto Naegi, Kyoko Kigiri, and Asahina are the only ones that participated in a previous killing game that are participating now. Sorry, I have to catch my breath after that one. They, along with all the leaders of the Future Foundation, which includes one of the previous directors of Hope's Peak, who is also a freaking beast with freaking crazy demon lord strength, and a freaking guy who's like super crazy about being the ultimate Hope, even though Makoto Naegi has already proven he was and always will be the ultimate Hope. With this begins a new killing game. The first person to die. The only reason I'm mentioning the first person to die in this one and not the other ones is because of her ties to the 77th class. She is the former Ultimate Maid. And sorry about that. And when she is the former Ultimate Maid from Hope's Peak, who, if you remember correctly, got driven insane by despair and succumbed to despair. She had and that's when this new killing game, also what I call the survival game, begins. After a whole bunch of crazy stuff, they eventually come to the conclusion that there was no traitor in this one. And that it was all a hypnotizing video that forced people to commit suicide. Which, funny enough, turned out to be something called Monokuma Theater, which from the first game, which was honestly really funny. And then from there, after they get out of this killing game, the new Miturai, who also participated in this killing game, shed some light on what he was going to do. Miturai, he has been working on a new video known as the Hope video. And Tengen was the mastermind behind the whole thing. He wanted Miturai to release the Hope video of his own accord, and to top it all off, Midoriya is going to do it. And it seems like all hope is lost. He's going to rewrite the human heart, giving them something new. And essentially stopping the despair. But it's brainwashing and it's immoral and all bunch of crap. Then the rest of the 78th class survivors come in and save the day. Oh yeah, Monica's in space. And if you don't remember who Monica is, she's green-haired girl with swastika eyes. And she essentially created all of Despair Girls. Well, all of another episode. She was the main villain. And so, with that, all seems lost. Then, the 77th class, not the remnants of despair, come and save the day. They stop they stop the Hope video from being released, take Midoriya back, and cover it all up, saying that it was them who did it the whole time. Being essentially the scapegoats, making it seem like Future Foundation was not at fault for any of it. By the end of this segment, the future has been restored, quote unquote, and Hope's Peak has been refounded with a new headmaster, Makoto Naegi. A pretty good end, I would say. And that leads us into Danganronpa V3, Killing Harmony. I can't wait to see what this one has in store. I can't wait to see all of its twists and turns. I love this series. I would highly recommend watching the Future Arc and Despair Arc anime, as well as playing Danganronpa 1, another episode, and 2, and 3, and V3 when it comes out. I would highly recommend playing them. They are really good. Please comment and like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.